Can you imagine being turned away simply because of your age? That sharp sting of humiliation, when all you wanted was to be treated with respect. Today's story is about one elderly woman whose kindness was overlooked in a cold, harsh moment. But what happened next would change everything in the most surprising, heartwarming way. Stay with me. Margaret Walker had always been a woman of grace. At 78 years old, her silver hair framed a face lined with years of laughter, tears, and hard work. Living alone in a modest home on the outskirts of a quiet town, Margaret's daily routine was simple but filled with small joys. Tending to her garden, chatting with neighbors, and visiting the local library. Her car, a worn-out sedan, had finally given up, and it was time for a replacement, a necessity, not a luxury. On a bright Tuesday morning, Margaret decided to visit the town's largest car dealership. The lot gleamed with shiny vehicles, their polished surfaces sparkling under the sun like promises of new beginnings. As she walked through the rows of cars, the smell of fresh leather and motor oil mingled in the air. She felt a flutter of excitement. Maybe this was the start of a new chapter. But that excitement quickly faded. Approaching the sales office, she was met with cold eyes and impatient glances. The young salesman, barely out of his 20s, barely looked at her. "Ma'am, do you have an appointment?" he asked curtly. "No, I just want to look around," Margaret replied gently, her voice soft but steady. He shook his head. "We're really busy, maybe another time." Margaret's smile faltered. She tried again, asking questions about a reliable sedan she'd seen in the lot. The salesman's tone grew dismissive, and moments later, security politely escorted her out. The sting of rejection burned deep. She was just an elderly woman, invisible and unworthy in their eyes. As she sat on a nearby bench outside, a gentle breeze stirred the leaves. The faint sound of children playing in a park nearby contrasted sharply with the coldness she felt. She clasped her purse tightly, fighting back tears. What Margaret didn't know was that her son, David Walker, was miles away, watching the entire scene unfold on a security camera feed. David wasn't just any man. He was a billionaire entrepreneur known for his philanthropic work and relentless drive, but more importantly, he was Margaret's devoted son. When David called her later that day, his voice was heavy with concern. "Mom, are you okay? What happened?" Margaret hesitated, embarrassed to share, but David insisted. "You don't have to go through that alone." She told him everything: the rejection, the humiliation, the hurt. David's silence spoke volumes. "Mom, I promise you things will change." The very next day, a fleet of luxury cars arrived at the same dealership. Cameras caught the moment when David Walker, impeccably dressed and calm yet commanding, entered the showroom. He wasn't just there to visit, he was there to take action. In a meeting that stunned everyone, David announced he was buying the entire dealership. "No one should ever be treated like my mother was," he said firmly. The room fell silent. The news spread quickly, and soon the dealership was transformed under David's ownership. Staff underwent training on respect, kindness, and customer care. Policies changed to welcome everyone, regardless of age or appearance. But David's kindness didn't stop there. He invited Margaret to the grand reopening ceremony, where she was greeted with flowers, applause, and heartfelt apologies from the very people who had dismissed her the day before. The same salesman who had turned her away now shook her hand, with genuine remorse. Margaret's eyes welled up as she looked around. "This is more than just a car dealership now," she said softly. "It's a place where kindness drives everything." Her story sparked something far beyond that small town. People everywhere began sharing their own stories of kindness, of standing up against indifference. It was a reminder that sometimes the smallest acts, an apology, a listening ear, a simple smile, can ripple into powerful change. Can you imagine how Margaret felt, going from rejection to being the heart of a movement? It's a powerful lesson in compassion and resilience. If this story touched you, take a moment to think about someone who might need kindness today. Maybe it's a stranger, a neighbor, or even yourself. Because kindness isn't just a gesture, it's a force that can transform lives. If you believe in the power of kindness like we do, please hit that like button, share your own kindness stories in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more inspiring stories that celebrate hope and humanity. And if you want to keep the good vibes going, check out our next video where we explore how one small act of generosity saved an entire community. Remember, sometimes it's not about the big gestures, but the heart behind them that changes everything. Thank you for watching, and always choose kindness.